It's game time, ladies and gentlemen. I got your watch list coming in July 25th, 2019, and I am excited, but it does not exactly explain the title here because this has been some of the worst earnings we've seen in a display of, honestly, Facebook's earnings call was, it was one thing. It's going to have its repercussions tomorrow, and it's not going to be as bad, but oh my gosh, Tesla. And now I encourage you guys, keep it positive. I don't want any of that pompous Wall Street Tesla kill. I know so much now. But that was an awful conference call. But why that's all important is because this is bringing up something we saw with all of the earnings. You could see just going through the companies that reported today: Tesla, Las Vegas Sands, ServiceNow, Ford, Facebook, Allergen, XLNX. It's like they all just miss completely. And again, we've been seeing some good reports, and tomorrow we are getting Amazon and Google and I think about 50 other S&P 500 companies. So this is going to have an effect on the indices and even coming into this week. And now I am going to get straight to the place for you guys because there's not really anything else that has happened except for, the stuff we came in from yesterday where there's any political stuff or other news factors driving it. We did get manufacturing numbers today, both service and, the service PMI and the manufacturing PMI, and they weren't too hot, but the markets, didn't respond too well. And again, that could even be helpful for the rate cuts. I always say rate hikes, man. That's how you know I'm old, and well, not old, just trading around the ZLB for a majority of my lifetime. So all I know is rate hikes. But it's been interesting. We've had 2 up days in a row, but on both of these days, we've started down to a degree, or, we went up, came down, went red for a little, then came back up. We gapped down today and came up there in general too. So all we got to look forward to from here on out is most likely going to be what happens with the rate cuts or rate hikes, and that is going to be on next Wednesday, July 31st. But what happened with these earnings today is very crucial and key because it's kind of giving us an idea now, and this is why I want to talk about it, of how investors are reacting and what good expectations and bad expectations and good results and bad results are having a play on all these earnings. Snapchat did good. They had good expectations. Facebook did good. The expectations are, they're decent, pretty much in line. Tesla, but even all these other companies in between, it's already going to have a lot of moves tomorrow. So make sure you guys are live. We are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's pinned in the comments, pinned in the description, or the first link in the description, and be there in the morning. We're going to go over all of this stuff. And before I get ahead of myself, the most important thing you need to do is post your watch list below and say your chant. IV is a result, not a cause. IV is a result, not a cause. IV is a result, not a cause. And thumbs up the video. Otherwise, bad things will happen. People will not get to learn. You will get bad karma. We're just trying to help. This is the cult. And also check out the second link in the description too for the stream alerts. We had a good day today. I tried something new, throwing those guys on the audio while we were trading, so that was a lot of fun. But now let us get into the play. So we already covered all the earnings, that did report, and what I want to talk about. Tesla's going to be an interesting one tomorrow. We want to see how it digests. I don't have any play on that, and the rest of the companies we're going to go over, I do have a play on most of these, so that's what I want to talk about. But Tesla, depending on how that trades tomorrow, we might be able to find a play. But overall, it was bad. They were expecting to be profitable. They've been, the guidance that Elon has been giving and failing. A lot of people are resorting to calling him a liar, a fraud. And I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's very easy to criticize somebody entering into this game. And, I have a few Teslas, the product, but I'm not really I fanboy Jerome Powell more than Elon. I'm not really too fond of him in that sense. I think he's, I'm just indifferent. But the key was they missed a lot of these guidances. And then the key thing, the CTO left as well too. Even though he was on the call, the chief technology officer dipped out. And now there is not too many people remaining, or really of the original squad that was there, or some of their higher level executives. It's kind of going downhill from here, but we still have to see how kind of all this plays out. But a lot of people can agree this was probably one of the worst earnings calls ever. So I'm going to keep my eye out for that to see most likely puts if they're not too expensive. And ultimately, though, too, we need to make sure the velocity comes in tomorrow. There's that. Las Vegas Sands, they dropped. I'm probably not going to play this. However, see how that plays out. And depending on the report, I haven't looked into the report, but that could help us set up a play for win, which I would want to look at either win as a call side if there's anything indifferent from Win in this company, but most likely too on the put side if it seems like there's a trend. And again, Win has that China exposure. Service now dropped as well too. They were down 11% at one point. So it's crazy to see how they went up. And this is what I was saying with all the earnings and expectations. A lot of these companies dropped, but the drops don't look that big. And that's why tomorrow could hopefully set up opportunities, or the rest of the week, because they ran up early in the day and then they kind of just gave back that big run up there. So watch Service now. We don't have a play on that one. Ford dropped as well. This could be decent. I know some of you guys, we'll see the price of the options tomorrow, but I know some of you guys like it on the smaller trades. I do shares with this, or I'd even consider going long too. They got a dividend. And then Facebook. So Facebook, we said it, we looked at it, we grabbed puts today at close just because the puts were pricing in half the pricing of the calls. But the issue was, someone even said this in the chat, and I said it made a lot of sense, and it came true. The call, any options buyers, you guys got crushed. All of us, calls or puts, it didn't matter. It's pricing so much on the call side. So even if it did go up on that first pop, you had to make up a lot to break even. And then it did. And if it came down, it didn't come down big enough to really make a put worthwhile. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and the effect it'll have on Amazon and all them. Now, Align and XLNX, both of these dropped. I'm going to want to set up and play these in the morning. Now, based on which date or strike price, that is going to depend on what we have to watch in the morning to see where the prices level out after earnings. And we did see, some of these earnings plays, the options are cheap in the morning. They kind of don't adjust instantly. So you guys will see in that first 3 minutes or so, you could probably find an option that went down, a stock that went down or up a lot. You could play the same direction and the options won't be too crazy. It's kind of what we saw with the Texas Instruments today. In the morning, they didn't open up high, and then out of nowhere, they just started going crazy. So I'm going to be looking for that on XLNX and Align. I think that could be good. There's also now PayPal. They dropped too. I don't really like playing their earnings, so we'll see how that comes out. But again, you got to see the trend with all these earnings. Now for the plays I'm looking at, we have those 3:30 calls for this week. They did go up and they want to break out, but they're right there. So the options, I think like the 322.50s, we've identified that today, and it's a weekly, so you got to be careful. And again, I'm not really aiming on anything too crazy until, crazy long term on it in terms of the contracts until it levels out. But there's going to be a sweet spot. This is going to be one we could push to the wall and even hopefully frog it there too. So keep an eye on Netflix at 330 or even again above 320 and how it operates there. And if it does drop below 300, next is Caterpillar. We grabbed the put on that today. We grabbed the weekly, and again, we were looking for the continuation, and it's crazy because that's what the after hours turned on, but it just went straight up. So we got killed on that put, but it still closed down 4.4%. So watch how this digests and what this does relative to the market. I don't know if I will average down on it, but I'm still just going to hold through that put, hold strong like bull or bear, whatever you want to call it. But then we also have the Home Depot. I'm still holding that like 217 call. It's up about 250%, and I'm waiting on it. I think, again, really, I'm going to be looking for this here in the morning. But the thing I don't want to get pump faked on is if it does make one of these moves, maybe it might continue tomorrow. So we need to see these other factors. And again, with more and more bad earnings, you might see a better rotation here. But some people were curious about Home Depot and the pending home sales and the existing home sales, although they were, and the new builds, although they were abysmal. Home Depot still fared pretty well, and you could even say a lot of that's been priced in when it comes down to this. And believe it or not, new home builders and stuff, they benefit off of Home Depot and to a degree, and they use Home Depot, but that's not all the way true. And again, if you even go watch that video of my buddy building that $6 million house, just because the sales are down in terms of the houses selling doesn't mean people are building. My buddy's a developer. He's building 3 or 4 of these houses still, and they'll still pay for everything and build them even though the costs are high, and they'll just wait to sell them at the appropriate price. Most of them, it's like they're the guys who bought the cheap options that went really, really in the money. They've secured the land so much, even if they spend a lot due to higher materials and whatnot, they could sell it for a lot, and they're not in a rush. Only really bad developers or people starting out and not really getting good deals on their properties, the bills, the land and all that, they're getting hit. So Home Depot isn't really suffering too hard from that. Next is also going to be Texas Instruments. I hold another one strong like bull. In Russia, it's not Russian instruments, it's the instrument Russia. Shaw. I don't know why that. So this play, it's just like the Shopify. If you guys saw that earlier this week, we took those 80 to 500. If you sold, congrats. I didn't. Now they're worth $40. Remember, baby, I'm here. I could give you guys the bounce pass. I could give you guys the behind the back, the no look. You got to put it into the basket yourself. So your exit, that's on you. I'm going for these dunks, and I'm a short guy, and I'm missing a lot of them. But sometimes when I hit it, the crowd goes crazy. But at the same time, you got to go with your ability. Do you go for the layup? Do you go for the dunk? Do you go for the free throw? Whatever you need. But I'm holding it there, and my plan with that is going to be hopefully being able to sell out in the morning, wait till it comes down a little bit, and then roll over into another contract for next week, because again, it still moved a bunch today, and if it does keep continuing, and with the good earnings like that, if there is more uncertainty with some of these bad earnings, people will rotate into there. And then next we got Roku. We're holding those today, and those options, they were up a decent amount today. In the morning, surprisingly, they were worth more here towards the end of the day in the morning, believe it or not. And that's what I found interesting. So the premium's starting to get there. Watch as Netflix is up too, but Roku still, it gapped up higher, but that's why the contracts were still expensive. It was still up 3% overall on the day. Well, that's why, I was going to say, that's weird. The chart ended up higher. So my chart didn't update there, but Roku's going to be a good one to watch. The contracts are up about 30-40% from where we got them yesterday, so be careful. But if there is a quick dip, and again, that strategy we said at the morning, watch those, but even watch those towards Friday. And then Lulu is one I picked up today. I got a next week call, and those closed slightly up. They were expensive, and I am starting to like some of these companies, both coming into earnings and some of these bigger movers that people could rotate into, like Lulu and Shopify. They're making some epic moves, and I think we've hit a few of them. I am going to try to look to take some profits on these a little earlier too, but overall, I think that could be a good one. And again, when Lulu starts to move like this, and the best of all, it's near all-time highs. So again, with a company like Lulu coming into earnings and where it's at, we've seen it go crazy a few times. So I think it's going to be interesting here, and keep your eyes out for that. Next is Boeing. This is the earnings digestion. I'd wait for them. The puts we got for August, I think it was August 16th. This was a big move initially, but then it slowly just edged down. Those are at break even, so the puts, it's going to need time to digest and as the speed and velocity adjusts. But they said in the conference call today that they're considering halting the 737 MAX line, and I think that news could have been interpreted good or bad, but we'll probably discuss that more tomorrow. Another play, I got Starbucks calls. I got next week, I think like 96.50s, and really my goal with this was what I did with Texas Instruments. Starbucks is only pricing in about a 2% move. Those 96.50s give it around like a 4 to 5% move, or a 5 to 6% move. I'm going to take those. It was a smaller price, but I like them. They're going to be reporting tomorrow. Next is Crowdsource. These went down a little bit, but it's kind of the same logic. You guys saw beyond. It's an IPO. It's near all-time highs. If they do start to break out and people do like this, this is a stock that can move a lot in a day, and it gets obscure and people forget about it, but we're still holding those calls. Next is UNH. So Trump said earlier today that he's considering, he's mulling an executive order on cutting Medicare drug prices. So it could either have a negative or positive effect. We want to see how the healthcare companies and the drug companies respond to this. But if that is the impetus to let this thing go up, that could be good. But they have been selling off pretty hard. We've been waiting for UNH to really get its footing, but I still like that play a lot. And then next, Shopify. I grabbed the next week. Even though we were down on the other one, I grabbed the next week one. And I have that one, and depending on how it moves, I will consider maybe even averaging down again on the weekly, because they were up a lot. They got cheaper, and really the point why I spent like $130 on one of these calls for next week, which is a pretty high for me on some of these. But the fact is, I think it can move a decent amount, and well, that's what I'm waiting for. But I do know that they can move, $15, $20 in a day. And again, usually after these big run-ups, they'll lose some steam for a little bit, and then, just get right back to it. And then again, people are going to start pricing in the earnings. We played a MMM, 3M tomorrow, and this is the final one. We're going to see how that is. And somebody brought it up. They're going to report Comcast. I say watch that in the morning. And again, use that strategy I was saying with depending on where it reports, you might be able to play in the direction. But I like 3M. That one was only pricing in a 1% move, but they're not supposed to move a lot anyways. It could move 3 or 4%. So we'll see. And we'll see if we get lucky on those options. But that is it, my friends. Post your watch list below. Make sure I see you on the live stream tomorrow. Let's go!